Update. My boyfriend saved my friend and now she fancies him. Original post. At a Halloween party earlier this year, someone tried to force himself and my 24 female friend while she, 22 female, was blackout drunk, and my boyfriend, 23 male, caught the guy in the act and stopped him. He got his mom to come get her and carried her to the car. His mom took her to his house and she stayed in his room while he stayed out at the friend's. He then drove her home in the morning. My friend was heavily impacted by that. It hasn't come out in a while, understandably, but we've met her a few times to hang out and such. But since then, she has messaged my boyfriend just trying to chat almost every day. My boyfriend usually replies maybe once every 3 days. He's a notoriously bad texter. This did sort of bother me at first, but I thought, maybe talking to him is comforting to her after what happened, so I pretty much ignored it and didn't let it bother me. This is until yesterday. On Boxing Day, my friend group had a get-together at my friend's flat. We had some drinks, played party games, and did a Secret Santa. We agreed a 100-pound limit on Secret Santa. A friend got my boyfriend and got him a 380 pounds Balenciaga hoodie. We were all like, WTF, but she said it was just to say thank you. For the rest of the party, it felt like she wouldn't leave his side too. Again, I let this slide until towards the end of the night. Another friend of ours pulled me to the side and told me that my friend had confided in her that she fancied my boyfriend and had done so since the incident. Now, I really don't know what to do. My friend went through something horrific, and my boyfriend saved her. But now I don't know how to reinforce boundaries in my relationship, or if I even should. Now for the top advice before reading the update. A few things. First, good on your boyfriend and his mom. Proper heroes. You can't control your friend's feelings here. Likely you can't control them. Infatuations are like that. And has given her a doozy for a reason to be infatuated. Your boyfriend needs to be clear that while they can be friends/confidants, he's with you. Romance is off the table and big gifts make him uncomfortable. The bigger issue is beyond your ability to fix. She really needs to get some therapy to help manage the trauma and the resulting feelings. But coming from you, she could see it as jealousy and react poorly. This might be a job for mutual friends to try to coax her into therapy. Hopefully, receiving help from a therapist will make her more receptive to rebuilding boundaries. Yes, I am very proud of him. My issue is that my friend has only recently started coming out again. It only ever comes out if my boyfriend is going to be there. I worry that by saying something, it will put her in a position where she will shut herself off, which is the last thing she probably needs. Really, at this point, your boyfriend needs to politely set some boundaries. Don't take crazy expensive gifts. Stick close to you while she's around, keep you wrapped into conversation, things like that. If she gets touchy, he can simply say he isn't comfortable with that since he's in a relationship. I understand. It's a complicated situation, with a ton of potential pitfalls wherein someone can be hurt. Above all else, your friend needs therapy. Right now, she's forming unhealthy attachments. It's all very understandable, but it's unhealthy and it's causing problems for you/boyfriend. I worry that you're right. If it comes from you, she may react even more poorly. Maybe boyfriend can nudge her to therapy? Maybe mutual friends, but someone has to. In the meantime, you, or probably your boyfriend, will have to try to reestablish boundaries in a gentle way. Talk to him and try to work out an approach. Maybe you shouldn't spend time with her unless you're around, a gentle reminder for her. But again, she needs therapy. You and boyfriend might talk to a therapist too. I'm not suggesting you need it, although I view it as an overall positive. But a therapist could help you find a way forward that both helps your relationship, it helps her mental health. I don't know. Do you have any ideas of how to go about getting my friends on site to convince her to get therapy? I don't want to feel like I'm pushing into her boundaries or try and tell her how to heal. But at the same time, I can't do nothing because it will lead to me resenting her. Your friend needs therapy. It's not weird that you fell for your boyfriend in that situation. We're kind of programmed to get attached to people who help us when we're in danger. However, she's trying to make moves on your boyfriend and that's morally not okay. But what you should do about it is tell your boyfriend this information and how it makes you feel. You should be able to trust your boyfriend to shut her advances down, but be honest with him about how you feel. Talk it out. You can also talk it out with a friend in question. Don't attack her. Show her sympathy for her situation and try to urge her to see a therapist. While understandable, it's not healthy for her to pursue a taken man. Yeah, I haven't even told him yet, but I don't want to make him feel awkward or anything, as I wouldn't want what's happening now to affect any decisions he'd made in the future. And now for the update. So following the advice of the majority of responses, I told my boyfriend and we agreed he should sit her down and talk to her. He invited her out to Starbucks to talk about how she feels, but now I fear the situation is worse. My boyfriend told her gently that he understands how she feels and is grateful, but he doesn't feel the same. He also told her that her emotional response to him is just trauma bonding. She refuted this by claiming that she had feelings for him long before the incident, back when they first met, but never acted on them. That she only said that her feelings came after the incident so that people won't judge her/hate her. My boyfriend told her that he wasn't interested regardless, and she said that's fine. But her feelings are real, and she has a right to speak her truth. When I tried to talk to her, she didn't even apologize, and said that she won't feel guilty for something outside of her control. I feel totally lost, because now this feels like so much more of a betrayal than before. Any help would be appreciated at this point. I just feel sick. Edit to Ed. She also admitted that she didn't originally even get his name in Secret Santa, that she found out someone else had it and asked to swap so she would be buying his gift. She knows exactly what she's doing, and you shouldn't consider her as a friend anymore. Honestly, she's being very immature by continuously confessing to your boyfriend when it's clearly stated that he's not interested multiple times. It seems like she has no respect for you nor your relationship. I don't recommend you or your boyfriend to continue to contact her anymore to save future headaches. To be fair, this was all in one conversation, so she just basically confessed how she felt, and hasn't tried to talk to him since as far as I know. Although she's right, her feelings aren't in her control, her actions are. By actively pursuing your boyfriend knowing you're together, she is way out of line. At this point, as much as it may hurt, I would cut her off. The fact she couldn't even apologize is proof that she has no remorse or guilt for what she's doing. Not worth the headache, OP. No way. I just can't believe she would be so remorseless to someone she's had a 7-year friendship with. I'm just speechless. I don't even know what to say to her. Listen, I had a derby wife friend I thought was really cool. Met her in a roller derby. We hit it off. Some years later, she was my maid of honor when my husband and I finally got married. A year later, my husband and I buy our own car into a rally, and thus we had an extra seat in our own vehicles for the rally. I took my derby wife friend/maid of honor, and my husband took his colleague buddy/best man. Long story short, 7 years of thinking I knew this woman, only to find a completely different and really effing creepy side of her that I was just like, wow. Wow. At my age, early 50s female, it is difficult to find people to become friends with, and I don't have many friends. So letting go of your relationship is not an easy task for me. After that crap show for a week during the rally and we had dropped them off at the airport for them to go home, I had a 2-week drive back home where I had a lot of time and space to just think. And that's going to be my suggestion to you. Take some space and look back over your relationship with this woman, once you have some space from her, and truly reflect on her actions. I bet you'll find some red flags there with regarding your relationship with her. It wasn't until I truly had time to reflect on that witch that I realized what a horribly toxic woman she was, and there was zero chance I was going to allow that toxicity in my life. When I got back home, I wrote her a letter telling her if she valued our friendship. I knew she wouldn't do as requested though. She would apologize and remove herself from a group. Of course she didn't. I blocked her and had her removed. My long-winded point is this. I suspect if you take an honest look at this woman and your relationship with her, you'll find some serious red flags. Her finally being open and pursuing your boyfriend is just a neon flag she's willing to plant for her own selfish means. If she was truly a friend, she'd keep her truth quiet because she valued your friendship and respected you as a human being. She clearly doesn't. Anyone who pulls that is simply showing their true selfish side, and they don't care about anyone else involved. You do well to cut ties and move on. She'll be a thorn in yours and your relationship side. And trust me, since she's your friend, she's yours to manage when it comes to you and your boyfriend. And if it's looking like he's the one for you, you need to protect what you have with him. It's okay to cut people out of your life, OP. It's very okay. Toxic people are poison to relationships they interact with. Good luck and be well. Edit. I'm hesitant to share the events of what happened. While I can't stand that witch, I'm hesitant because other folks are involved. Let's just say the most egregious thing she did, among other things she did those 5 days, was accuse my husband's friend of criminal behavior, all while flirting with him, and I'll leave it at that. I of course no longer believe her and now see this as a lie, but she put me and my husband in a horrible situation, falsely claimed a man of a crime and was a freaking creep in the room. She's out of our lives now, and I'm going to leave it at that. Now for the last story. Update. My girlfriend 19 female wants me 19 male to stop editing videos for female clients. Original post. My brother is an influencer. He also has a ton of friends who is in that business. I edit videos for him and a few of his friends. It is not a full-time gig and I don't make a ton of money, but it is fun and I enjoy working with them. By now, I have a very good relationship with them and can interpret their wants and vision correctly, so I rarely have to make major changes to my drafts. It is a pretty good gig while in college as it helps me relax. My girlfriend of 6 months recently came over while I was working and saw that some of the shots featured women styling clothes. Yesterday, she called me and told me that she felt uncomfortable with me working with female clients if I was editing videos like that. I refused. And she said that I was being a creep who wouldn't get a real job, which was pretty hurtful. She isn't like this usually. I don't understand what I should do here. I like my clients. They are very chill people who don't make a lot of demands. I think I should dismiss her feelings. Now for the top advice before reading the update. She's wrong. She is wrong to limit who you can and can't have contact with, especially in a professional manner. She is wrong that it isn't a real job. Editing videos can be a career. This is your time to get experience, practice, make connections, build a portfolio and earn references. Sure, she can express her discomfort, but she has no right to tell you to stop working with any clients based on gender. Imagine if you were bi or pansexual. What job would she allow you to have then? Personally, I wouldn't want to feature with someone like her. You're absolutely right. Opie also has to explain to her that his relationship with these girls is purely professional, and he has no interest in them outside of that. And if she can't accept that, then Opie should reconsider the relationship. You should drop your girlfriend. Instead of having a mature conversation with you about how she's feeling insecure, she insults you. You're 6 months in. Cut your losses and end it. No idea what her idea of a real job is, but you sound like an entrepreneur to me. This is skilled work where you are building skills at a network. It's hard to get work like that when you're 19, and you're ahead of most college guys. She's an idiot. Moreover, the whole don't work with women part of it is stupid. This being relationship advice, I'm sure this isn't the stupidest thing to be jealous for that someone has posted about recently, let alone ever, but it's still a really stupid thing to be jealous about. It's not like it would be a problem if you were taking the videos since they're not adult films or anything, but it's not like you were even taking the videos physically around these women. And now for the update. I should have listened to the subreddit. I knew I had to break up with her, but I was too much of a coward to do it quickly, and now she destroyed my editing setup. It really messed me up, but on the plus side, her dad paid me enough money that I could buy a great setup. I was pretty scared for a while and stopped accepting jobs. One of my clients called me up to check if I'm okay, and we ended up having long conversations and haven't stopped talking since that day. We started dating about 2 months ago. She also has a similar experience with a jealous ex who hated that she was an influencer. This relationship feels way more solid and open than the last one. We are doing great, and I'm seriously considering making a career being an editor, but that seems a bit scary. I love self-fulfilling prophecies. She was scared you'd leave her for a client, and literally did everything in her power to drive you straight into one. In the future, she'll tell future boyfriends how she has trust issues, because her last boyfriend left her for a client, conveniently leaving out that she was a bad crap petulant rage monster. You know what they say, you're the villain in someone else's story. So hey, if you'd taken the advice at a time, you might not be with your awesome new girlfriend. Anyway, sounds like it all worked out great and you were getting some sweet new equipment. reminded me of this fable that kind of changed my outlook in life. There was once a farmer who owned a horse and had a son. One day his horse ran away. The neighbors came to express their concern. "Oh, that's too bad. How are you going to work the fields now?" The farmer replied, "Good thing, bad thing. Who knows?" In a few days, his horse came back and brought another horse. Now the neighbors were glad. "Oh, how lucky. Now he can do twice as much work as before." The farmer replied, "Good thing, bad thing. Who knows?" The next day, the farmer's son fell off the new horse and broke his leg. The neighbors were concerned again. "Now that he is incapacitated, he can't help you. You might starve. That is too bad." The farmer replied, "Good thing, bad thing. Who knows?" Soon the news came that a war broke out, and all the young men were required to join the army. The villagers were sad because they knew that many of the young men will not come back. The farmer's son could not be drafted because of his broken leg. His neighbors were envious. "How lucky. You get to keep your only son." The farmer replied, "Good thing, bad thing. Who knows?" There were so many bad things that happened to me that became good things and vice versa. Just what your ex was worried about happened. Not really. She called him a creep and said he couldn't get a real job. Then she mistreated him and broke his work gear. Then he obviously broke up with her because of it. Then he got over her. Then he met someone nice. Then he started dating them. His previous post was almost 5 months ago. He's been dating a new girl for 2 months. He's 19. Even if he waited a week before moving on, that's a lifetime in college. He didn't leave her for a client at all. Update. I caught my mom cheating and now my family went no contact because I didn't want to forgive her. Original story. My mom, female 51, cheated on dad, 58. If it was the first time, I don't know. Although I doubt it, but about 9 months ago, my younger sister, female 23, and I caught her in the act in mom and dad's bed when we got dates mixed and showed up in the wrong weekend to a supposed family gathering. I don't want to go into detail since I don't know how much is relevant here, but the way we found them probably added to my anger and it forgiving of her. She swore it was a one-time thing, yada yada yada, and dad believed her even though this crushed his spirit. And he's not his bubbly self after that and has lost a lot of weight since. Nobody else believed her, but my other siblings, male 33, male 31, female 31, and female 23, and some of the other family members who found out thought if he forgave her, it was good enough for them. And after a few months, everything was supposed to be as usual. I did not, however, forgive her, and I told her that evening she was dead to me, and she was never to be part of me or my baby's, 3 months female, life. I was pregnant at the time and I was supposed to break the news at that gathering. I kept my promise and refused to see or talk to her throughout the pregnancy, and she was raging and calling me selfish, cold-hearted, and an a-hole for depriving her of her first grandchild. Not only her, the rest of the family seemed to think I am at the wrong too, including Dad, and they all went no contact with me. I suspect it's to pressure me to talk to her again, but my sister said no, they all just think I'm a big a-hole and don't want anything to do with me. The only ones on my side are my significant other, one cousin, and of course myself. I can't forgive her, not only for what I witnessed that will haunt me for the rest of my life, but even because of what Dad has become. I have never seen him so defeated and depressed. Always on the verge of tears whenever I ask how he was. And the last time we met, a month or so before I gave birth, he cried in the nursery he was helping me prepare for my daughter. I resented my mom even more. The thought of her in my life honestly makes me want to vomit. No one from my family have met my daughter since her birth. No one asked or called or did anything. My significant other, in a desperate attempt, sent a picture of me and my newborn baby to my family chat group, and none responded. It feels like this is becoming a battle of me versus mom and she is winning. The problem is I love my family so much. We have always been so close. I wouldn't mind them having a relationship with both me and mom, but they're set on going no contact as long as I'm excluding my mom from my life. I miss them. And most of all, I miss Dad, who I believe needs me now more than any other time. I am very lost and tired of crying myself to sleep every night, but I can't rid myself of the resentment. What can I do? Edit. Thanks a lot for the support I'm getting both here and on the chat. Although many are saying I am being very dramatic, and cheating isn't that bad, and that I'm being silly to feel traumatized. I'm not judging cheaters, and I'm sorry for everyone who felt triggered. Of course, many can come back from infidelity and stay in their relationship. I'm just telling my experience. I am not, neither here nor privately, going to give the kinky details. It's not about that. I leave that to your imagination and my nightmares. I will, however, tell what transpired afterwards. As I said, little sister and I got dates mixed and went to mom and dad's home. We heard commotion at mom's voice, and we thought she had fallen or something and hurt herself, so we ran upstairs in fear. But they saw us. It was the usual mom sobbing, telling us, "It's not what you think, it's not what you think," while getting dressed. The dude ran to the bathroom, and my sister is yelling and crying. I asked mom, "Is dad in on it? Does he know?" Because I thought they maybe had an arrangement. The dude then goes out in my dad's bathrobe, smirking, and he sat on a bed and started smoking. My sister is hysterical now, and I started yelling, "What's going on? Does daddy know?" I took out my phone to call dad and turned to get out of there, but mom jumped at me and knocked the phone out of my hand and begged me to stop. The dude then went to the door and locked it and stood there blocking it, chuckling. I turned to mom and told her to let us out. She came towards me and slapped me twice around my face, yelling at me to calm down. Sister was screaming, "Leave her alone, she's pregnant, you slut." And she had called dad and started sobbing and begging him to come. The dude heard dad is coming, so he took off the robe and started getting into his clothes in front of us. I took my sister and ran out and sat in the car waiting for dad. And that's what happened. Now for the top advice before reading the update. First of all, congratulations. Secondly, focus on your family, dear. You have a new baby. You don't need this BS in your life right now. You love and respect them, but they don't love you or respect you. That's not healthy for you. If they don't want you, don't make effort. Because you did nothing wrong, and you're making effort for nothing. I think they can even try to come back in your life when they realize you gave up on them. Thank you. I'm so sorry that your family's punishing you like this, just when you should be having so much joy sharing your baby with them. Get some counseling, even if it's to come to terms with what you saw that day. You know that wasn't the first time your mom cheated, and she's probably still doing it. But they've all decided to overlook it, and somehow they've transferred their anger at your mother's betrayal onto your reaction. Nice trick. Counseling, now. Edit. Well, I'm advocating counseling for Opie's for her own peace of mind, and understand she has no part in the family's nuclear backlash. She deserves to drop the upset that's causing her distress and sleepless nights. I never thought of counseling, to be honest. Maybe I should give it a go. This is quite possibly the most mind-boggling post I have ever read on the sub. The fact that you literally did nothing wrong, and yet everyone is treating you like you're the worst person alive is downright infuriating. Honestly, screw the rest of them. They're awful for what they've done to you, but they made their choice, so let them stick with it. Even if they somehow realize they messed up, they're no longer worth your time and energy. Much like you, I'm more worried about your father. If you're not blocked, send him a message stating how much you care about him, and how if he wants to be in your child's life, he absolutely can. Then wait for him to respond when he's ready. And now for the update. First of all, thank you guys for still reaching out to me asking how I am, and if I had an update. I'm afraid things got a lot worse the last couple of weeks, and I'm very sorry if you were waiting for a happier update. I have tried to make this update as short as possible. If you wonder about anything, I will try to answer as best as I can. I mentioned in my original post that one cousin, female 22, took my side, or should I say, she didn't cut me off. She did some investigation and found out that there was this rumor about my little sister not being my dad's biological daughter. My mom told my siblings that I was the one who had spread this rumor to hurt her reputation, and that's what made them go no contact. When I told my significant other this, he was very shocked and told me he's been receiving anonymous texts and emails from a guy claiming that I was unfaithful with him and that our baby isn't my significant other's. My significant other didn't want me to know this before because of how I was, still am, doing. I made a final desperate attempt to contact my siblings and dad, and wrote them a very long email and asked my cousin to send it to them to make sure they got it. The only response I got is my oldest brother's fiancé emailing my significant other that we're uninvited to her and brother's wedding in April. That was a week ago. Yesterday, Dad called my significant other. He told him that he felt obligated to tell him the truth about me, that I have been lying to everybody and that I have made up the whole mom having an affair thing to cover my own unfaithfulness, and he advised my significant other to take a paternity test to make sure our baby is his. I heard everything because significant other had put him on speaker. I'm sorry my update is lame and rather horrible. I have been crying on and off since yesterday, running to the bathroom, being sick whenever I think about Dad's words. I don't know if I regret investigating further and not letting it go. I realize now that I won't be hearing from any of my family anytime soon, and for the first time in over 6 months now, that I think it maybe is for the best. What I don't understand is how her affair is being totally looked over when there was another witness beside you present. I only have one thing to say. Cut all contact with your whole family, and if you can move to another city/town or country, seek help ASAP and take care of yourself and your husband and your baby. This is easy. The mother, who is also obviously cooking up all those rumors, convinced the younger sister that what she'd seen wasn't what happened. The human mind does very weird things when traumatized and in shock. I wouldn't be surprised if the mother turned the whole thing too. It was OP who cheated in our bedroom with that guy, and the little sister and I found her. And now she's trying to pin that on me to cover up her affair. She most likely is also the one who sent those messages to OP's significant other. I had a wife like this. Insanity. Pure insanity. Catch her doing something and she would try to convince me it was her that caught me. Thought I was schizophrenic for a bit. My mom spread a rumor that my older brother was hooking up with our cousin when we were all teens. I only realized that she was the source of the rumor when I caught her trying to spread a similar rumor about my son and his cousin 20 years later. Some folks' parents really are monsters. You have a small kid. One day your daughter may face some difficult things in her life, and you'll be an example on how to handle dishonesty. Don't keep liars and cheaters around. It only drag you down. Surround yourself with the great people who care about you and nobody else. Be glad the trash took itself out. Who knows what other kinds of BS they try to pull in the future. This doesn't make sense because the sister was there and witnessed it too. So how did you make up the story? Yes, that's what Dad is saying now. I don't know if he believes it himself, or he's just trying to break my husband and me up by making him doubt me. My husband doesn't want anything to do with my family anymore and advised me not to go investigate anymore and just let them go. Your husband is right. Let them go. Let them live in denial. You told them what happened and how they reacted is on them. They are now trying to break your little family up in retaliation, so cut them off. At least for now. Next story is titled, Update. I threw a low blow at my boyfriend at 20 male during an argument and I don't know how to fix it. 22 female. Original story. We have a great relationship and I think I may have ruined it. We have been dating for a year and we are going fine. My boyfriend has a tendency to forget things. He manages it well, but sometimes I have to remind him of things. He forgot to take the spare key I had given him when he was coming over to my place. I was at my friend's place and her boyfriend had just broken up with her and she was a mess. I was just helping her calm down and it was pretty emotionally stressful. It was a bad relationship and I had told her that it would be better if she left it. She started to blame me for the breakup and she lashed out on me. It was very hurtful. He texted me while I was already in a bad mood and I told him I would be over in half an hour. It took me about 1.5 hours to get back. I could see he was slightly irritated. I'd asked him to bring over something that he had forgotten at his place. He had forgotten it too, and I just snapped. I said that my friends were right and I was dating a freaking idiot. It was a pretty hurtful thing to say because he was pretty hurt. He was very hurt by it and I apologized immediately, but he was really sad. He is insecure about his intelligence and I just insulted about something he is insecure about. I have tried to apologize for it and he says it is fine, but I can see that he is still hurt by it. I reacted like a child and hurt him. He is so sweet that he brought the things over the next morning even though it is a 2-hour drive to work for him from my place. I want to fix this. I don't know how to fix this. Now for the top advice before reading the update. If my friends called my girlfriend an idiot, I would never talk to them again. But I can't even imagine saying that to her myself. If I was him, I would lose a lot of trust with you and feel insecure and anxious every time you go see your friends. If you can't stick up for this man with your friends and even repeat what they say to him, you should let him find someone who appreciates him even with his flaws that aren't his fault. Right? Memory that sticks in my mind to this day 20 years later is when some random guy called my mom a witch for accidentally bumping into him while we were at Disney World when I was 6, and my dad turned right away and knocked him on his butt. Can't imagine ever doing anything less if someone said something awful about a person I love, let alone a friend doing it. What an awful way to treat your man. Damn, girl. You not only insulted him, you confirmed that you and your friends think and talk about him that way. You'll be lucky if he moves on and lets you make it up to him. But if you don't, at the very least, change your awful behavior and quash that type of talk from your friends, you don't deserve the chance. In one fell swoop, he has learned you and your friends have discussed his intelligence behind his back, and that you think he is an idiot. Honestly, it's really hard to come back from that. He will likely never trust any compliments from you and your friends again. You should have an open and honest discussion about what led you to say it, not simply apologize. He might be willing to move forward if he understands the context and is able to accept it was a slip of the tongue. Maybe, I'm no expert. This is easy to fix, and ironically, it involves a spare key. Step 1, give him back any key you have to his place. Step 2, leave the poor guy alone. You are a toxic mess. He deserves better than you. Look how, even in this message, you try to blame him and justify your crappy behavior. You admit to griping about him and your friends. You are a garbage person. Get away and let the guy have a shot at a better life with a better partner. And now for the update. We broke up. I tried to make it work, but it was clear the trust was gone, and he broke up with me. I miss him, but I didn't deserve him. I hurt him really badly. He said he couldn't ever trust me, and he didn't believe it when I said I loved him. The most messed up part of me calling him an idiot is that I didn't believe it for 1 second. I didn't talk bad about him, and every time my friend tried to diss him, I would defend him. I was lying to hurt him, and I feel that is worse than telling the truth. It was a really cruel thing to do. Someone posted a link to a page about verbal mistreatment. At first I thought it was BS because I never seen a relationship where the partners don't yell. I mean, my parents used to throw things at each other, so I thought yelling and cussing them out was healthier than that. I am a mess. I've started therapy and I need to take a lot of time to deal with my harmful tendencies. I'm an okay human 99% of the time, but when I get stressed and really annoyed, I lash out and hurt people I love. I don't want to be that person anymore. I've pulled away from my friend group too. They're just as messed up as I am. It was automatic. My brain just went into overdrive and picked up the meanest, nastiest thing so that I can hurt him. I don't know if I can change that. If I can't change, I wonder what will I do? I don't want to be like mom and dad, but I think I'm just like them. I have a lot of work to do. I just wished that I realized how messed up I am before I hurt the sweetest person in my life. Good job taking accountability for your actions. This is a classic example of how toxic and harmful behaviors are normalized and thus repeated. It's going to take massive work to unpack this and to recalibrate what normal healthy behavior in a relationship is. Keep at it. You can do it. I am scared. I don't know if I can change. I'm going to try really hard, but I don't know what will I do if I can't fix myself. I wish my girlfriend, soon-to-be ex-girlfriend, realized this because she does the same thing. Great when everything is going well, but as soon as she gets stressed, she hurts me with things she says. My ex was like that too. Seems to be common. I just want you to know that the person you are at 22 doesn't have to be the person you will be at 32. You are fully capable of improving your empathy skills, emotional intelligence, and keeping a lid on your temper in therapy. You can learn how to communicate better. You can learn how to identify and express your emotions in a healthy way. And over time, it becomes your new worldview. I know it because I've lived it, right down to the unhealthy temper and poor relationship role models. I wasn't emotionally stable at 22. At 32, my therapist frequently compliments me on my handling of situations and communication skills. You are not your parents, you're you, and you can grow. Update. Husband 33 male and I 26 female were child-free. Then took in his sister's kids. Now I'm pregnant and terrified. Original story. I was always on the fence about kids until I met my husband 6 years ago. He made it clear he does not want kids at all, but I agreed to be with him without having kids. A few years ago, his sister was deemed unfit to parent. She was a single mother to a preteen girl and a young boy, and their caseworker asked how we would feel about taking them in. I said that I was in favor, as growing up my life was nearly identical. Parents deemed unfit and taken in by my aunt, which was the best thing for me. But I let my husband make the final choice, as they're his family, and he's the one who was resolute on being child-free. He said that we could take them, but told me that I would need to do the kid stuff. meaning everything from discipline to doctor visits. I agreed. Right from the time they moved in, he began distancing himself. He'd stay late at work or shut himself at the office all day and barely interact with his niece and nephew, while I, as promised, handled all the kid stuff. However, him distancing himself upset them, and when I would bring this up to him, he would only ever respond that he was child-free, and I knew what I signed up for. The full legal adoption was completed last year, and the kids have been in therapy since we took them in. 4 months ago, I found out I was pregnant. My husband said that we could keep the baby and he would be involved. But once I was past the termination deadline, said that the same rules apply to this child as to his niece and nephew, and he claimed otherwise before this as he didn't want me to terminate. I don't want this. It's not like I intentionally got pregnant. It was an accident, and I was fine being child-free if it meant I got to be with him. But life clearly had other plans, and I love all 3 of these kids. I can see how much it hurts the older kids for their uncle/legal father to completely ignore them, and I don't want that for the baby. But I feel completely trapped and I don't see a way out. I don't expect to change my husband's mind on kids, but is there anything I can do to improve the situation for anyone involved? Now for the top advice before reading the update. He's not child-free at all. He's responsibility-free. I just want to say that I don't think there's anything wrong with not wanting kids because you don't want the responsibility. But there is something very, very wrong with putting that responsibility all on someone else and having the nerve to call yourself a parent. What? He dumped his family issues on you to appease your want for children and then locked himself away. And when you got pregnant, he hid information from you about his feelings on it so you wouldn't terminate. Excuse me? I know he's child-free, but then don't bring 3 freaking kids into your house. He wasn't fair to you and stupid. Wow, what a display of the intelligence and foresight of the human race. Your husband is already threatening your niece and nephew with negative feelings of self-worth, and all that comes with not caring about them and hating the idea of them. They're definitely not in the best parenting scenario despite the tons of hard work I'm sure you're doing. Imagine what that'd be like with another kid. It's your baby, but I think you might have to bottom line this. Either he is completely present for the baby and his goddamn niece and nephew, now his son and daughter legally may add, because he said so before so you wouldn't terminate, or there will be consequences. He needs to live with the result of his actions and he needs to step above his pettiness. My 3 problems are these. He expected you to take on the entire burden for his niece and nephew, which are his family, so it should be his concern first and foremost. He hasn't stepped above his wish to be child-free to help his niece and nephew, even though he said it wasn't his job. That's not a fair position to put you in. Said he's literally locked himself in his room, like a teenager throwing a tantrum. Finally, he lied to you. About your own kid. He said he would be present for it, which should be obvious, which was a lie only so you wouldn't terminate the child. So you didn't, and you're pretty much irreversibly pregnant. For what reason exactly? What does he get out of this but another child to avoid? So he needs to grow up and be there for his niece and nephew, and be a father for your/his baby. It's the least he could do. If your husband didn't want children and didn't have a vasectomy and continued to be intimate with you, then he's as responsible for his child as you are, and he needs to step up and handle the situation he is in, not the mythical situation he wishes he was in. If you have a child, you step up and be a parent. If you adopt children, they are yours, and you have to step up. Neglect is mistreatment. Placing all the parenting responsibilities on you is emotional abuse. Thinking that it's at all acceptable to ignore his own child is almost sociopathic. It was also greatly harm the child. If he doesn't see the need for at least going to some counseling to deal with the fact that, like most of us, his reality doesn't meet up with what he thought it would be, then I don't know what you can do to change his mind. Are there any parents, siblings, or good friends you can ask for help to get him to go talk to a professional with you? The birth control situation was complicated, but it does take 2 to tango, but he made a choice to take his niece and nephew in. I don't think he's a sociopath, and I don't think he's intended to mistreat anyone, but that's the effect he's had on us. He doesn't see counseling as a legitimate avenue, and all of our extended family relationships are complicated in one way or another, so I'm not sure how much help reaching out would be. And now for the update. As I stated in my first post, my family situation is complicated, and the family members I feel that I could turn to in a crisis form a very short list. I tried contacting my husband's parents and asking them for help. As while we had our issues, I figured that helping their grandchildren would take priority. Not only would they not help, but they informed my husband that I was planning to leave him. This caused a fight the day after my first post, in which my husband and I both said some things, and it doesn't look like we're going to come back from it. I'm still working through my feelings on that. After the fight, I reached out to my aunt, and she told me to contact my grandparents who lived nearby. I was hesitant as I have no real relationship with them and struggle to consider them family, so I was hardly expecting a warm welcome. But that is what I got. It was awkward as I've only met them a few times in my entire life, but they seemed happy to see me. They were a little shocked that I had a preteen and young child with me, but seem equally happy to have adopted great-grandkids as they are at the baby on the way. The kids and I are looking into other living arrangements, but we're safe for now. Thank you for the responses to my first post. It wasn't easy to read, but I had to hear it. I wasn't even going to update, but some of you were just so nice about it that I felt like I had to. Wow, I was so angry at your ex-husband reading the other post. It's one thing not to want to do all the organizing and practical stuff for kids, another to emotionally neglect them entirely. And lying to you during your pregnancy so you wouldn't terminate? What a piece of work. Don't feel guilty about getting all the child support you can from that waste of skin. I'm a random Reddit user, and I approve this message. As so many others pointed out on the original post, that man was using being child-free as an excuse to neglect his kids. Once you agree to take in 2 kids, you no longer get to be child-free. Normally, I only lurk, but that prick move from his parents was just horrendous. Wow. Don't let them see the kids or contact them. If they want a relationship with them, they can have it on his time after custody is arranged, unless of course he doesn't want any time. In which case, let them sleep in the bed they made. Screw them. I honestly thought I would be safe enough with his parents. I knew they didn't like me, but they also had a poor relationship with my husband, but loved kids. So I figured that all of that combined would result in them at the very least not telling him. We haven't discussed it, but I already know that he won't want any custody. I just don't know what to do about his parents. As the kids have already lost so many people, I don't want to be the reason they lose their grandparents. You won't be the reason they lose their grandparents. Their grandparents will cause it. Wow, so you took his sister's kids too. You sound like a saint. I wasn't going to leave them with him. The youngest calls me mom. They're my kids, as far as I'm concerned. I have also legally adopted them, so I'm in the clear on that too. Saint is definitely an overstatement though, lol. Make sure your soon-to-be ex pays child support for all 3 kids. They deserve the support money. I know, I'm going to sort it. My grandparents offered to help me with any legal fees to make sure I've got full custody and child support. Get my things back from the house and I don't get screwed over the divorce. I just need a minute before I can think about divorcing. Now for the next story. I hate my son and I want to leave my wife. My wife and I never wanted children, and when she got pregnant, it was a shock. I have a naturally low sperm count, which made vasectomy pretty moot and with my confidence in rubbers. My wife did a 180 and told me she loved a child and wanted to have it. I was shocked and tried to convince her to no avail. He's 2 now, my son, and while my wife loves him, I only harbor resentment. I know I was at fault for his existence, but I blame my wife as well because she clearly wasn't on the same page as me. I've been going to therapy to cope, and the therapist said there was nothing to fix. Not wanting a child isn't a problem, and I need to take a step back from it all. After discussing with him, he told me to take a break from the whole family for some time and see. If I enjoyed it, I would know my answer. The feeling of no longer being with my son was the best thing in my life. My wife and I have been hashing things out as well because of my clear discomfort. I'm thinking of divorcing her. I'm not happy with her anymore and I want to move on. I would obviously still pay child support, which leads me to my question. If I divorce her and give up custody, should I be involved in my son's life? Now for the advice. No. If you don't want him and don't love him, he'll know that. Kids aren't dumb. He'll be better off if you leave. Pay your required support payments and don't complicate his life. As someone whose father left me at 11, I agree. I grew up resenting my absent dad, but now I'm 26 and rarely think about it. Just leave. Don't reach out to make yourself feel better. My father abandoned us when I was a toddler and kept showing up every so often to prove he was involved. It was a nightmare. I left my ex last year because I didn't want to be a dad, and he was a horrible person. He is mad I left him, so he fights for visitation, and I have to let him take our son. Son is almost 2 years old. I am worried that our son will be more hurt by his father's lame attempts at pretending he wants to be a dad, versus if his dad left and he never saw him again. Honestly, it seems like you have to leave, pay your child support, and stay gone. Anytime you come popping back in out of guilt or whatever, and maybe you're just going to add more trauma to your son's life. If you're leaving, stay gone and make payments. I don't know what else to say. If I had an award, I would give it to you. Partner's dad popped in out of guilt throughout childhood and spread rumors about mom. It's a living hell. Stay gone. Now for the last story. My 35 female husband 35 male seems to think childcare has nothing to do with him. So, we have 3 kids, 7-year-old boy, 4-year-old girl, and 7-month boy. Childcare has always been my problem to handle, even though I have not wanted it to be. Admittedly though, I am definitely the one who does a lot of this type of stuff in the house. It has been probably my largest source of stress over the past few years because childcare in America is awful. I have been lucky to have had a lot of help from family, but ultimately have not had reliable help for long over the years, and have been stuck making it work as best as I can through time off, work from home, and even having times where my kids are sitting in virtual meetings with me. My husband leaves for work early in the morning. I am an executive at a tech startup, and I have been lucky to have a lot of flexibility in my work, but ultimately it is a very high-pressure job. This past few weeks have been a disaster. Due to challenges with care, I hired an additional babysitter who ended up being an absolute nightmare. We should not have her babysitting our kids, not because they're unsafe, other reasons for this, but I'm so desperate I'm having her come still until I find other care. I figure I'm home so I can at least supervise. Our other childcare provider quits with no notice. Personal issues, definitely not us. So I was staring down a full work week with no childcare. I brought this up to my husband last night and he kind of just shut down. We went back and forth, but ultimately when I told him I might need him to take a day off of work to help, he just said he couldn't take a day off. I pointed out to him that I couldn't just take a week off without notice and my job matters too. In fact, I'm the primary breadwinner. He just walked away and left it at that. So I texted him today again to broach the topic, like 50 times now that I've brought up this problem that I don't know what to do, and again told him that I can't do this week without help. He hasn't responded yet. But it really got me thinking about how unacceptable this is. We've had 7 years of this. I have had multiple sobbing fits of stress. I've always kind of thought that he would help if I would let him, but I was the problem because I just did it all. But then here I am begging him for help over the past few weeks, and he is just ignoring me? I'm thinking if he doesn't respond to my text today and avoids it, that I'm going to ask for a separation. I honestly do think I would never find someone that I love as much as him. What we have is genuinely really special. But I just feel like this crosses a line of disrespect for me. It's one thing to say can't take off work and sit down and start offering ideas, but he just legit left this problem for me to deal with, and continues to do so despite having time to collect his thoughts. One thing I want to note, so that he doesn't get raked through the coals, he is going through a really tough time right now. His mom, who he has a strained relationship with, is slowly dying and has been more difficult than ever. His dad has gotten really mean and difficult as well. It has been brutal this past few weeks. So, am I crazy? Is this just something where he's so stressed he's just unplugging? I just don't even know. Edited to add. A few clarifications here. Husband is definitely an involved dad and partner. Some people have pointed out that I listed the fun stuff that he does, and that's valid. It definitely got me thinking. He does the unfun stuff, but it absolutely takes nagging for me. I already have him reading Fair Play, and I also am going to ask that we start up marriage counseling. What we have is genuinely really special. He just walked away and left it at that? Not sure I believe it's special enough to put up with this. He won't even have the conversation? How can you fix a problem he won't even talk about? How can you fix any problem if you won't talk about it? I couldn't deal with that in a relationship myself. Well, he just texted me a full apology for how he reacted and started jumping to ideas for who to reach out to. That's the problem sometimes. It just takes 24 hours to get to where we should have been yesterday. I'm gonna be blunt here. What you have isn't that special. If he doesn't give a damn that his wife is breaking down sobbing over the stress of caring for kids that are 50% his, it stonewalls you when you try to hold him accountable for doing his share around house. Love is a smaller part of marriage than partnership. It just is. And he's a bad partner. I would sit him down and calmly tell him that you have already contemplated divorce over this issue, and that if he does not pitch in to help with the kids, it will eventually end your marriage. I agree with everything you said, except I would lose my crap on him. In my experience, continuing to be polite in situations like this just doesn't work. Always being polite is hurting us. The disrespect continues. The refusal to see us as women continues because there is no consequence. OP, I want to say that I feel horribly for you, watching this man's back as it turned it towards you yet again. I'm sorry that he did that to you. Am I the a-hole for kicking my dad and his wife out of my house after they said they wanted to name their unborn twins after my deceased siblings? Some background. My 27 female younger brother, sister, and mom passed away in an accident 8 years ago. A father, 52 male, and I used to be very close before this, but we've drifted apart since then. I think some of it has to do with the fact I look a lot like my younger sister. She was always close to my dad, and we would often joke she would take care of him when he got older. My father also isn't really a believer in therapy and refuses to go. When I started going to therapy a few months after the accident, he said that I should be stronger and, quote, stop giving people the satisfaction of seeing you weak. He remarried 2 years ago, but his new wife and I don't get along. Some things she's done include telling my father not to invite me to the wedding, telling him I was bullying her children because I refused to let them have an unsupervised party at my beach house, and I also told them they can GTFO if they continue to treat the staff disrespectfully. Her kids were 18 female and 17 male at the time. When she married my dad, she was also under the impression that the money he spent on her and the house he lived in was his. He never said it was. She just assumed. My mom left me a nice amount of money in her will, and I used it to invest and also work in the tech field, so I'm well off. However, considering my age, I don't think she was expecting this, and I don't think she was very pleased either. On to the issue. At their gender reveal party, they're expecting a boy and a girl. My dad announced they will be naming the kids after my dad's siblings. I'm shocked, and I interrupt to tell him that naming the twins after my siblings is weird. His wife just tells me to stop being jealous. At this point, I'm pissed, so I ignored her and tell my dad that he would always stick up for me in the past, yet let his wife belittle me now. How hurt I was he didn't invite me to his wedding, how he never once said he was proud of me or even a thank you or a love you after I bought his house for him, and basically said that if my siblings were here, they'd be disappointed in him, and ashamed to call him dad since he's been a pretty crappy one so far. My father told me to get out of his house, and as I am about to leave, his wife comes up to me and I kid you not says, "Don't let the door hit your butt on the way out." So I walk back and tell my dad that he and his wife had a month to leave my house. Well, wife started crying. Dad said I was pathetic and her family has been messaging me telling me to apologize. But my friends and family on both my mom and dad's side agree with me, although they think I should let my dad stay and kick the wife out. However, I want both out. I get that I acted a bit emotionally, and I'm starting to feel bad for stressing a pregnant woman. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before the little edit/update. Not the a-hole. Kick them out. They shouldn't name their twins after your dad's siblings. It's totally wrong because your dad's siblings were born to your dad and mom, not stepmom. They need to come up with other names. Your stepmom is a piece of work. I'm sorry for your loss of your mom and siblings. The way new wife has worked to cut Opie out of her father's life, it's not impossible she's seeking to overwrite Opie's siblings in her husband's mind. She was probably thinking dad has lots of money and valuable property she can get if she pushes Opie out. Ding ding ding! This happened to me and my brother when my dad went off the deep end during his midlife crisis. Like Opie, joke was on her because she never would have gotten the house my dad lived in, as it was basically willed to me and my brother. So there was no way for trashy girlfriend to get her grubby hands on it no matter how deep of a wedge she made. She didn't even have a lot of money either, just more than she did since she refused to get a job, whereas he had a state pension, military benefits, Medicare, part-time job. I'm lucky though that my dad eventually wised up when she tried to pass her fourth pregnancy off as his. It wasn't possible because he had a vasectomy 20-ish years prior and dumped her. She was a walking dumpster fire, and the whole relationship was a Jerry Springer Show episode. Stick to your guns. Your dad has become mental, and your stepmom is the reason. Get them out of your house and go low contact or no contact until your dad gets therapy and comes to his senses. I know you said he doesn't believe in therapy, but make it conditional if he wants a relationship with you. He's wholly dependent on Opie, for home and finances at least, so he has a stake, something to lose. It's abundantly obvious where his loyalty lies, and it's not with his daughter. And now for the update. Hi everyone. First of all, I would like to say thank you for all the condolences. I really appreciate it. To address some things, my dad wouldn't be homeless if I kicked him out. He still has a well-paying job, and the old house we used to live in before the accident which is under his name. Also, the house he currently lives in is under my name. I bought the house for him as a surprise, a way to show that I appreciate him and hoping that it might help repair our relationship. I didn't really care to go through changing the names on the house, because I believed I owed it to him since he raised me, and I just went with it to make him happy. I never really thought I would try to argue against this, and to be honest, I feel pretty low doing this. But I have been footing the bill for the house and most of his lifestyle, and I'm tired of them showing zero appreciation. I guess the names were just the straw that broke the camel's back. A lot of people also mentioned how naming the twins after my siblings isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I agree, if they were doing it with an honest intent to respect them or using middle names. But I can tell my father's doing this because he is still grieving, which is why I was upset with him during the party. I'm not the best at expressing myself, so some of my anger might have been misplaced, but I was more frustrated with the fact that he's trying to cope with their loss by trying to replace them, and in a way replace me. Also, I'm kicking them out legally. I've given him and his wife a 30-day notice and have a lawyer. I know some of you have suggested to go no contact with him. I might after this, but I want to give him the ultimatum of therapy. Even if that doesn't repair our relationship, I'm hoping it will at least help him grieve in an appropriate way. My dad and I have agreed to talk to you this weekend without his wife present, and I will update if anything changes. If it doesn't, then I'll just update at the end of the month when they leave. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting someone move into my bedroom which I don't use after they were outed and disowned? Context. My mother came out as bi when she was younger, and was disowned by her parents when she started dating a woman. My grandmother came back into her life once my mother had my older sister and me. My sister caught on quicker and chose to dissociate with her. I was younger and didn't know. Due to this, I was named the sole inheritor to everything my grandmother owned, including her house. My grandmother's final spiteful move against my mother, it seems. I, female 18, recently started college and got a scholarship which included living on campus. I thought it would be a good idea for me to get out of my comfort zone and have a level of independence. My sister's best friend, Jen, 21 female, was recently disowned by her family after being outed, so she spent Thanksgiving with us / staying with us. Obviously, my mother has taken Jen in. The day after Thanksgiving, my mom told me that Jen will be permanently moving in. Both her and my sister go to school about 30 minutes away, so it's more convenient. My mom told me that she's going to give Jen my room, as it's not convenient for her and my sister to share a room. Up until this point, I was on board and felt bad, but I had a problem with this. We have a 3 to 4 bedroom house. The fourth one is currently being used as a storage room. So I don't think it's fair for me to be displaced when there is a room she can move into. The stuff inside of it can easily be moved into closets around the house and is a big room. My mother argued that I go to school 6 hours away and will only be home a couple of weeks out of the year, and it's selfish to keep my room. Jen also likes the fact that my room has a balcony and stated she liked being on the same level as everyone else / felt isolated sleeping on the ground floor. I said that she was prioritizing someone else over her own child, and she said I didn't have a say because I'd never be discriminated against based on my sexuality and didn't know what it's like to be disowned because of it. I told her I felt like she was disowning me right now, and there was a bedroom for Jen to move into, but she couldn't have my room. Next day rolls around and Jen starts thanking me for letting her move into my room and starts talking about redecorating, painting, etc. I'm confused and tell her that's not happening and that there was a bedroom downstairs if she wanted to move in. My mom and sister both got angry, and I was getting overwhelmed and shouted, "I won't let you kick me out of my own home. That is my bedroom and will continue to be my bedroom. If you want to choose Jen over me, go live in another house and have your family there." Apparently now I've made Jen feel unwelcome and she thinks I hate her because of her sexuality. My mom and sister keep making comments about being inhospitable and can't believe she pulled the "I own this house," even though she doesn't pay any bills. I have paid a tax on the house through inheritance money, and will live in my grandmother's house. It is absolutely unfair to be kicked out of your room by someone else, especially when you are the owner of this home. Your mother obviously has a blind spot when it comes to this specific topic, and I'm sure there is some family bitterness towards you for inheriting everything. However, you have some difficult conversations ahead of you, independently of whether or not you should have to move. If you are really not providing anything to the household economically, what is going to happen? If they all actually got upset and took you up on your offer and move out, what would you do? If you can't put any money into the home, you are also at the mercy of their contributions, whether you like it or not. It's time to consider what your long-term plans are, and if the residence in your home is in them. Opie can rent out the house to a family until she's finished with university, then decide to either keep it or sell it. She has options. You're the homeowner. It doesn't matter if you don't pay the bills. Jen can move into the spare bedroom in the other part of the house. There's no reason you should have to be displaced in your own home. From what I understood, it's your house, and not your mother's. Your mother had no right to say that your room would go to Jen. Jen was an a-hole too for talking about redecorating your room. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling the kids their dad took this year's Christmas away from them? So I'm a working mother of 3 kids, 9, 11, 5. My husband used to have a job but was let go at the end of 2020 and hasn't worked since then. Yes, he worked in few places here and there like the gas station, but he couldn't keep it because he lacked motive and passion. All in all, our financial situation isn't so great, but I've decided to start saving money to be able to get the decent Christmas celebration the kids wanted and couldn't get in 2019 to 2020. I've put money aside to buy decoration and prepare meals and also gifts. But just a couple days ago, found out that my husband had taken $500 out of my account, and from the money I saved, the rest of my salary goes to bills and grocery, and gave them to his little brother to help him out in child support. I found out I'd had a big argument with him about how he essentially stole this year's Christmas from the kids to help his irresponsible brother pay for child support. My husband apologetically said he had no choice and was pushed by family to contribute and pay part of his brother's child support. Otherwise, they won't see their nephews/grandchildren, since his brother's baby mom is vicious and spiteful. The kids came in and I just told them that unfortunately I can't afford Christmas this year, and it's because of their dad who took it away from them by taking the money I saved. There was utter silence, and my husband glanced at me in disbelief. He told the kids to go to their rooms and screamed asking what the heck is wrong with me to spout this kind of BS in front of the kids. I said it's the truth, and that I sacrificed so much to save money to give the kids some joy this holiday. Then he selfishly took the money and gave it away. He said he would pay me back in time before Christmas, but I don't see this possible since it doesn't even have gas money. He got pissed and said I shouldn't tell the kids that he took their Christmas money, and that the psychological damage I'm doing to the kids is worth a lot more than money, and accused me of turning the kids against him and making them resent him for trying to help out a family member. He stormed off and spent time with his family, who accused me of causing my children mental traumas by saying their dad took Christmas away from them and alienating them from him. Adding this, just wanted to say that the kids know that mommy is the one who brings home money, and so if Christmas gets canceled because of money, then they'll think it's because of me. I had many conversations with them about it. The last thing I want is to see them disappointed in me for something that is not my fault. Thank you. Now for the comments. Your husband sucks. Be done with his deadbeat self and family. At least alone, you won't have to worry about him stealing from you in addition to sucking up the family resources with no return. This, and maybe when you ditch him, his family will come together to pay you some child support so you can afford Christmas presents. Yeah, might want to separate your bank account now and kick him out. Why should Opie take the blame for having no Christmas? She's the only breadwinner in the house. She sacrificed to make this happen. The husband needs to take some responsibility for this and explain to the kids why I felt his brother deserved Christmas more than they did. Opie, I would leave this guy. He's dishonest, lazy, and steals from his own family. Huge character flaws that don't make for a good marriage. You will always be giving 110%, and he will always be taking. We'll see if his brother gives him $500 to help when he owes you child support. Everyone sucks here. 1. Your husband is a deadbeat, which apparently runs in his family. No way should have used that money to pay his brother's child support. especially when he's not doing anything to support his own family. Deadbeats suck. Looks like you married into a family of them. 2, you played a large part in ruining your children's Christmas, by not only airing out your marital disputes to them, but also just tossing out Christmas altogether because your husband is a jerk. You had an opportunity to work with your children to teach them that Christmas isn't all about the money/gifts/things, and about family and togetherness. You still do. And instead, you decided to use them to punish your husband. You and your husband need to have one-of-life conversations. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving her with an apartment she can't pay for herself? So after 6.5 years in a relationship with my girlfriend, let's call her Maria, we got together when we were 18/19 years old, and over the course of the years we have experienced a long-distance relationship where Maria studied in another town, and I prepared myself for serving in the military. As Maria studied, she left for Hawaii to study abroad, and when my 1 year of service were finished and she got back from Hawaii, we moved in together. 4 years passes and she got her master's degree, and I managed to get a bachelor's degree. We've had our ups and downs during this time together, and we decided to move again. She already had a plan but could not manage it alone since rent was too high. Maria wanted to move to the big city where she could get a good paying job, and myself wanted to move to another town to continue studying. But personally, I did not want to leave Maria again. So for her, I moved to the big city as well. Now, after 3 months, she all of a sudden decides to tell me she wants to break up because she has lost the spark we once had. On top of this, Maria claims that she wanted to split up for over a year, but was too insecure about it and wanted to try and see if we lived somewhere else she would not feel she had during the prior year. So now I can't stay in the apartment. I have to get out, but she wants me to pay for rent until the landlord finds someone else for it. But I never signed a contract. It's all in her name. So I'm packing my bags and never looking back. Am I the a-hole for leaving as it is? If you're not on the lease and she doesn't want to be a couple anymore, it's her problem if she can't afford rent. Exactly. I'm thinking there's a reason Opie wasn't put on the lease. Also, if Opie wasn't put on the lease, then her eligibility was determined solely on her income, not their combined income. And she likely can pay her rent. Maybe just barely, but still. Otherwise, I doubt she would have gotten the place to begin with. So let me get this straight. She, 1, convinces Opie to move to a city he didn't really want to move to, that she can't afford. 2, dumps him. 3, tells him she wanted to dump him a year ago. 4, kicks him out of the apartment they share in the city she wanted to move to. 5, and still expects him to pay her rent? Laughing my butt off, ma'am. You do not get to drag someone across the country with you. Dump them, insult them, kick them out, and then hold your hand out for rent money? Ma'am, the audacity. Update. My dad abandoned me when I was 2 and now wants to meet me. I ended up living in 6 foster homes and faced a lot of abuse after my mom OD'd. Does it make me a horrible person to meet him just to tell him how I grew up? My mom overdosed when I was 4. I was used to her passing out for periods of time, so I just made toast and watched cartoons at first. But on the 3rd day, I got bored and went to play at a playground. Someone became concerned, and next thing you know, they're taking her away and I'm going to stay with some nice people. Well, none of these people were very nice. I could go into details, but let's just say that I was removed from the first few due to abuse. And by the time I was put in a decent home, I wasn't a nice little kid people wanted to adopt anymore. I was too old and an a-hole who hated them, because I knew, in little kid logic, that even though they had red bunk beds and gave me ice cream after dinner, that soon they would be like the rest. I eventually ran away when I was 16. My foster dad got mad at me for going in the fridge without asking, and next thing I know, I'm packing my bags because I figured someone would pay me to do crappy work and wouldn't treat me like trash. I'm 24 now, and my dad friended me on Facebook. We have the same name, and he sent me a long message about how he's gotten older now and thinks I should meet my siblings, etc. I hate him. Maybe I shouldn't, but he left me with a heroin addict and went on about his life. He has a family now? Well, cool. I never had one, not until I grew up and started my own. I honestly think that letting him know I don't want to be his buddy or his son or whatever he thinks he needs would make me feel better. I could stop hating him and resenting him, and load it on him and just move on. I also want to let him know that I lived in an apartment with my dead mom for 3 days, and we didn't have anyone who cared about us enough to come by. I want to show him the burns I have on my arm. I want to let him know that I hid from one of my foster dads every night under my bed, and prayed to a God I no longer believe in that he would just leave me alone. I want him to know that I never had real birthdays or Christmases, that I wasn't allowed to go in the fridge in most of these places, and in extreme cases, I wasn't even allowed to leave my room unsupervised. Would this be petty and horrible? Should I just ignore him? Edit. I'm not some celebrity success story, but considering my poor placements and the fact that I ran away from the foster system at high school when I was 16, I think it might roughly qualify for ending up a pretty average guy. I'm 24 and work as an electrician. I have an associate's in it. Who would have guessed I'd go to college? No one. I went to school when I was 19 after I got my GED. I'm married with 2 kids. The oldest is 3 and the youngest is 7 months. And I'm a really good dad, which surprised me because I never had one, but I adore my kids. I would walk on fire for them. I'm happy, and I think that blue-collar, middle-class living suits me. I honestly thought I'd end up in prison or something, but instead I found this life. Now for the top comments before reading the update. No dude, unload on the guy. Give it to him like you just described. He needs to know, and you need to unload. He had 2 decades to come get you, and now that you've grown up, it's too late. You don't need him. You don't need to see him, ever. But it will do you so much good just to tell him what he did to you by leaving. Let go of the hate and resentment, and yell and scream and kick over chairs. Also, freaking good job on getting your life together. You should be super proud of yourself. The odds are he left because she was a witch. She wanted a kid, and he might have never known how bad she got, or that Opie was in foster care. All he knows is up to the point of leaving. He may have no details after he left. By all means, tell him everything since he did make contact, but the Opie isn't going to gain much. Maybe he will apologize for not knowing, but he cannot apologize for what the mom did. I don't think it would be good for either one to have a relationship at this point. They called him to see if he had any interest when my mom died. He didn't, and neither did any of his family. He then signed away any rights he had. And what did my mom do? Yeah, she OD'd, but she tried. She fed and clothed me and loved me. She was addicted to a drug and it was a horrible thing, but she loved her son. He walked away, and 22 years later decided to see how life treated me. As a foster mom, first I want to say I'm sorry. I hate hearing that kids get placed in situations just as crappy, and sometimes far worse, than where they are removed from when they should be placed someplace better. Foster care is supposed to provide a place for kids to feel safe and loved, sometimes for the first time ever, and allow for parents to hopefully get their act together so the kids can go home. And if they cannot, well, then they are supposed to provide the kids an opportunity to be adopted. As for telling your father what happened to you and how you grew up, think about it first. Are you wanting to tell him so you can unload and feel better? Are you wanting to tell him because you hope it will make him feel bad? Maybe get an apology? If it's the first reason, I say go for it. You need to do what makes you feel better. And if unloading and maybe even telling him off. He could have found you sooner, especially if he straightened his butt out years ago. He could have. If you're looking to make him feel guilty or get an apology, be prepared for him to not do either. I am not saying he won't, but it's a possibility, and you may feel worse in the long run. That is not what you need, want, nor deserve. Just be careful is all I'm saying, and if you need to talk, PM me. I know there are good places. I stayed in contact with my social worker, and she cried when we met up once, and said that I was her worst case because I was such a sweet, adoptable little boy, that I got the worst of the lot. And by the time she found a good placement, I was too scared for it to be a good place. Thanks for being a good foster mom. And now for the update. I wrote a message. Is this okay to send? I decided I don't want to come off as bitter or angry, but I don't want him to still have hope of some kind of Hallmark movie ending either. Dear Jack, I'm 24 years old. I am not the little boy who cried when you left. I am a man with a son and daughter of my own. I've never spent more than a weekend away from them. I am a father and a damned good one. I don't need you anymore. Once I needed you. When my mom died, I really could have used a dad. I could have used anybody. When she died, there wasn't even anybody there. No one cared about us. I spent 3 days in that apartment, eating toast and just waiting for her to wake up. And then they called you, because you were my dad. You were 23, young, but not so young really. If you had come and gotten me, you would have had a son. I would have loved you forever. But you didn't. So I went to a bunch of people who didn't love me but liked the check they got with me. It didn't make them treat me well. I have burn marks on my arm, and I still can't spend time in closed and dark spaces after being shut in closets. An afternoon is a long time when you can't count. I didn't count on anybody. I used to pray, the way Mom did with me when I was little. But after praying for someone to come and rescue me long enough, hiding under my bed and praying that my foster dad wouldn't come in and would leave me alone for just one night, I stopped believing in most things. I lived in 7 different homes from 4 to 16, and even the decent ones I was never family. I didn't have real birthdays or Christmases. I wasn't allowed to go in the fridge and just get food when I was hungry. When I was 16, me and my foster dad got in a fight over a ham sandwich. Boy, what are you doing in our things? And so I left. 16, with nobody to call and $40. I just walked away with a backpack. Anything could have happened to me. But I made it. I'm a man now, and I don't need you. I don't want you to feel bad. I just want you to know why I can't be your son. I'm 24 and have never been anyone's son. I don't know how, and I just don't have it in me. Jackson. Send him that letter. He needs to know that he failed. You did a great job writing this. He already knows, but I'm up for shaming bad parents any day of the week. He already knows and he is contacting him because he feels bad and wants forgiveness. In reality, he is the same egotistical a-hole. Once abandoned his son and now wants peace of mind because he can't sleep. Exactly this. My father's mother abandoned him and my 2 uncles when my dad was 5 and my uncles 3 and 18 months. Then my grandfather died when my dad was 11. That woman wouldn't have anything to do with her 3 sons. So they ended up with some distant relatives and were sort of okay. But she didn't give a damn. Fast forward 20-ish years to when my dad was about 33. She found God and called him out of the blue and said if God can forgive her, so can my dad. He said, GTFO, you crazy witch. She cried and said it was keeping her up at night, blah blah. And his reaction was, what about all the nights I had to comfort my baby brothers? She had nothing except to say how guilty she was now and how hard it is for her. This is also the same woman who out of the blue sent my gay youngest uncle letters saying he was condemned to hell due to his wicked ways. She hadn't spoken to him since he was 9 up until that letter, as she had heard he was gay and felt it was her motherly duty to protect him. My grandma is a witch. I see my dad once in a few years. I used to be constantly angry about how he has deeply hurt me by enforcing so many things on me, threatening me with clenched fists and red eyes, sending me to school in the middle of the winter while I was very sick, smacking me out of bed with a smirk on his face, sending me to a boarding school, etc. He was there for me, but he wasn't a father to me in many times. I didn't grow up in a safe household, and I remember using my sleep as an escape from reality, which might be the reason why I get incredibly tired when faced with the kind of emotion my dad used to cause in me. To me, it still reads as though you want to hurt your father. Although this is understandable and justified when punishing him is the goal, it might not be so very helpful to anyone. The reasons for deep anger are always very good. Pain can be very deep and powerful. Certainly if this pain comes from your childhood, a phase in your life in which you are most vulnerable and you need caring and love more than any other time of your life. But think about a mental state in which you would abandon your own kids. Think about the confusion, the anger and despair, the helplessness and pain required to do such things. Consider the regrets and the guilt it would cause. The always nagging feeling in the back of one's mind about a son walking around there somewhere. What do you know about the root causes of his behavior? Was he himself abandoned as a child? From what I've heard, my father was mistreated even a lot worse than me. At a certain moment in my life, I learned to see the hurt and lonely child in him, and that made a big difference. You know what's best for you, of course, but have you considered what would be the most courageous, elegant, and healing thing to do for everyone involved? If someone told you a story like your own, what would be the very best advice you could give that person? Again, I don't know you or your father, and I don't know what's best for you. I choose to see my father once in a while, preferably to go for a long walk in silence, just to be with him as the person he is, not the person he was, the person he should or could be. Just me and him, enjoying nature and one another's company, as human beings, without power struggles, without fear or anger. just to be together in an uncomplicated way. It took many years to get there, and it isn't always easy, but it's more than nothing and gives both of us peace of mind. I know how hard this is. I don't want to suggest that my solution is a good one for you as well. All I want to say is that there is always more space than we perceive. Blame and guilt are never useful in any scenario. I wish you all the best, that you may find the strength and wisdom to do the right thing, that you may live happily and be the best dad you can possibly be. Let the pain end in you. Let your family be a new beginning in what is perhaps a long line of pain, passed through the generations. Lots of love from one dad to another. When I was 3 years old, my mom, my sisters, 4 and 6, and I were thrown out of our house at the middle of the night by my father. From that day, we have been through many hardships, including severe poverty, suicide attempts, abuse, etc. We practically lived on the street in a third world country, with nothing and no one to help us, but we made it. Today's my birthday. I became 22 years old. A stranger called congratulating me. He said he is my father and he wants to meet me. This is why I can relate so much to the OP. And this is also why there is not even a cell in my body that could understand a man that calls me a son. Understand why he didn't run after us, why he didn't fight for us, his children. It's okay if he hated our mom, but we were his children, and mom couldn't provide for us while he could, yet he chose not to. You see, when you talk about his confusion and how he was lost, didn't know what to do, it all just makes me angry. Because how freaking hard it is to send money to your starving children. How much thought does it require? What could have been a legit excuse for him to turn away from us for 19 years? So often we almost died in need of his help. Still he never called, never did anything to contact us. Yes, I am hurt, but not because he abandoned us. I have moved on from that pain, but because he dares to call me his son after all this time. I am not his son, and he's nothing more than a stranger to me. So when he called and told me he wanted to meet me, I told him, your son died 19 years ago. The night you threw a helpless infant out. He starved. Last story. My wife wants me to cut contact with the mother of my older children. My ex, 42 female, and I, 44 male, have always maintained good communication for the sake of our 3 kids, 19, 16, and 15. She lives a distance away, so the kids are with me during the school year and with her for many holidays. Despite her distance, she wanted to still be part of important decisions for them, and I have always tried to accommodate that. Currently, we are coordinating the purchase of a vehicle for our youngest on his upcoming 16th birthday. Today, my wife, 31 female, said that after my youngest with my ex turned 16, she doesn't want me to talk to my ex anymore unless it's a dire emergency. I asked why, and she said it's time to begin removing her from our lives. My wife said she's afraid that if I keep contact with her for much longer, it will have an adverse effect on our own kids, 8, 6, and 1, although I wasn't able to quite understand how. She said the kids are now old enough to keep in touch with their mom themselves, and if I continue to talk to her, it's for myself instead of them. I asked what is it specifically about my conversations with my ex she found objectionable, and I gave her my phone to look through my texts. She pointed out several texts where, among discussing logistics for the kids, there are occasional more casual comments like one of us making a joke about our job or mentioning what became of an old friend. These comments are usually tangentially related to what we are discussing about kids, and we always quickly get back on track. My wife says the conversations are like something between 2 friends, and my ex and I shouldn't be friends. She says she needs boundaries. I ask if we could table the discussion so I could think. I have several concerns. I don't want to upset my kids. I don't want to ruin my good co-parenting relationship. However, I also don't want to upset my wife. I want her to feel comfortable and secure. What should I do? Now for the advice. Whether your wife likes it or not, your ex will always be part of your life. Her not feeling secure is something she needs to work on. Asking you to cut contact to your ex and the mother of your older children is unreasonable. Absolutely. They'll be in contact for the rest of their lives. Graduation, college, marriages, birthdays, weddings, grandchildren, etc. It's so much better for your kids if you all get along. She wants you to choose her over your kids. Is she willing to do the same? What kind of contact is she in with the father of her children? That's a ridiculous request. If you and your current wife break up, would she really be okay with someone else determining how you communicate with your children? Children are forever. There's still school, breakups, weddings, grandbabies, other life events and minutiae that you'll need to discuss. Agreed, your wife needs boundaries, OP, but she's not going to like the ones you should set. which is mainly that your ability to co-parent collegially with your older children's mother is not determined by their age, is not subject to her input, and is more important than her insecurities. She also needs counseling,